everybody here in the center and also in YouTube. We're very, very happy to have you joining us. We have lots to do today and then a lot of great announcements coming up to give. So let's start with our chant. Om Satu Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityur Ma Amritum Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to mortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Okay, so we're going to have some fun today with the topic, the Sri Ramakrishna's unlimited nature. So I've got some writings of Sri Ramakrishna. So we're going to follow him from an infant all the way through his boyhood and then on to his awakening in Dakshineswar, and then some of his story that went on from there. And then just some things afterwards, just to give us a taste of such an unlimited nature, because literally he really expressed himself in terms of all the religious traditions of the world, and not just from a distance, but actually immersing himself into each one and having the experience of what the final results of that path are. And so that's kind of unique in the history of spiritual lore. And so I think there's certainly, as Swami Vivekananda quite forcefully said, we have no idea what Sri Ramakrishna is. We have none. He said, there's nobody who can really, even I, he said, which is shocking. Even I, he said, can't understand his true nature. So it's a lot to come, I suspect, when we have future generations to be able to get more deeper understanding. So we're going to have a lot of things coming at us. I thought maybe we do a quick chant to start. And it's always said, if you want to go to the deity, you have to go through Divine Mother and propitiate her to make sure that she's blessing you and she allows you to go. So let's do that. We'll chant. We'll do this chant, Om Aim, and we'll chant to the different devis, Sardama. We'll start with Shardana since we're talking about Sri Ramakrishna. Then we'll go to Kalima and Durga Ma, Lakshmi Ma, and Saraswati Ma. So it's in those little books, but it's a simple chant. Om Aim Jai Ma Sharda. Then we'll go Jai Ma Kali. So it's quite simple. If you want those books, you can have them. That way we'll go from our minds and our bodies to our hearts. And we'll be talking about that in Sri Ramakrishna's writings. So. Okay, that's better. So, as you know, Sri Ramakrishna's father had a vision on a pilgrimage of Lord Shiva, and he was granted the boon of being born, Shiva being born his son. And at the same time, his wife had a vision of light from the temple, circling, then coming in, inundating her and piercing her, and she felt that after that she was with child. So very much from the beginning of the whole lila of Sri Ramakrishna, there is this auspicious beginning. And we thought, I'll just follow this as it kind of unfolded in just glimpses of his life at certain stages that show different aspects of his nature. And obviously we can't really go into much here in this short time, but we'll do as much as we can, and maybe we can follow this up with reading. I'd love to do a class on Ramakrishna's disciples. Maybe we can do a group reading of that book. It's a really wonderful book because it's easy for Westerners to follow because it has a lot of background history, and it also covers a lot of the stories of Sri Ramakrishna's life that are maybe not easy to find. So,
any question entertained?
Huh?
Can I ask any question?
Sure. Let's go through some of this, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. If there's anything, just shout it out. And if you have questions online, by the way, type it into the chat, and I'll look at them before we're finished, and we'll see if there's any there. Okay, so this is written actually by this is written about Sri Ramakrishna's Akshay Kumar Sen was a family friend, so this is some of his writings and reminiscences of what happened with Sri Ramakrishna. So this is when he was an infant. In his parents' home, the master as a child would enact his various lilas at his own sweet will. One day the child was on Grandma Sri Chandramani Devi's lap, Sri Ramakrishna's mother. So this was a family friend, obviously, lap, and was exposed to the sun's rays. The power of Vishnu took possession of the master's body, and his mother felt the child was feeling very heavy on her lap. She could not bear the weight and placed him on a winnowing fan. It started cracking along with the bed on which it was placed, and the mother became scared, not knowing what was happening. But the child remained calm and quiet. She tried again and again to raise the child from the winnowing fan, but just so could not do so. In desperation, she started weeping. Hearing her cry, people rushed to the place. They inferred that a ghost residing on a nearby neem tree might have taken possession of the child, and so a ghost charmer was sent at once. He came and sang the usual mantra to get rid of spirits. The child became light, and the mother again could take him on her lap. Kind of sweet how he gave them an escape without having to explain himself. On another occasion, leaving the child alone, she was attending to her household chores, but there was an oven near the bed. There was no fire there, but only ashes. At that time, the child was but 2 or 3 months only. Moving away from the bed, the child entered halfway into the. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Did I get this? Should have halfway into the. Oh, here we go. Halfway into the oven. Sometimes these are copied in there. I should have edited it. Halfway into the oven. And remained half outside. Then the shining baby, who had the luster of the moon, was rolling on the ground, covering himself with the ashes. Seeing it, Grandma came running and saw the darling of her heart was rolling in the dust. She screamed aloud and took the child on her lap. She wondered why the child appeared so big. She said, "Just see, I left him sleeping on the bed. Who was pushing him into the oven? How has he grown so tall?" Saying thus, she began to weep. Hearing her cry, Dani came running in haste and took the child in her hands, reciting some mantras. Strange were the master's leelas beyond the underlying of ordinary beings. They often brought fear to the hearts of his parents and neighbors. Thus, 3 or 4 months had passed, and then a wonderful incident took place. Grandma had placed a 5-month-old child on the bed and was gone to another room in the house to attend to some other work. When she came back, the child was not there, and instead, a full-grown man was inside the mosquito curtain. She called aloud to her husband. The horrified pundit came quickly and entered the room with his wife. Now they saw that the child was playing on the bed. The mother hastily took the child and started breastfeeding him. Seeing her surprise, the pundit said, "What you have seen is true. There is a reason for it. You should not divulge all these things to others. These impossible happenings are not possible in a human being. All this is nothing but the play of Maya. What I feel in my heart is beyond description." The parents forgot the divine powers, and with tears rolling down their cheeks, kept looking at the face of the child and gave him many kisses. So that's it. So I guess there's also price to pay when you have a divine child, right? If you're a mother and you had these experiences, it might not have been so easy, especially in our modern world. Can you imagine? Okay, this is interesting. Now we're going to go forward to when Sri Ramakrishna was Gadadhar, and he was just visiting, kind of roaming around the Kali temple, Dakshineswar, while his brother was the priest there. It was then in 1855 and 1856 that Gadadhar was only 19 years of age. One day, the great devotee Mathur, Rani's son-in-law, having come across him inside the temple, asked Ramkumar, "Who is this young, handsome brahmachari?" Ramkumar replied that this was his younger brother. Mathur said that he wanted very much to have that charming young boy stay in the temple. Ramkumar doubted if he would ever agree. Mathur just listened, but did not say anything on that day. That handsome face, however, was always in his mind, and he was feeling increasingly attracted towards him. Due to circumstances, several events occurred simultaneously, and one was the arrival of his nephew Fride. Having his favorite Fride with him, the master's joy knew no bounds. The two were together all the time. Now, since his childhood, the master knew how to make clay images. In color and gesture, the icon was so exact that nobody could say that it was made out of clay or if it was alive. For his own worship, he made an image of Shiva with clay from the Ganga, complete with the trident, damaru, snake ornaments, crescent moon on his forehead, matted locks of hair on his head, and the bull as his carrier. While walking leisurely inside the temple, Mathur came across that Shiva's image and was astonished. Who knows with what material the master had created the image? It appeared that Shiva had come down from Kailasa in person. Mathur took the image and at once rushed to the Rani's palace. In great wonder, Mathur said to her, "Where can one find out the maker of this exquisite image?" "Through our great fortune, he is right inside the temple and is no other than the handsome younger brother of the priest of Mother Kali. He is of tender age and almost appeared to be a brahmachari. His very look captivates the mind. I strongly believe that if he could be persuaded to stay here as Mother Kali's priest, in short time he could awaken Mother's spirit in the deity. This is my firm conviction." Quickly, Mathur came outside and found that the master and Hride were pacing leisurely in the courtyard. He sent a message that he wished to talk to them. But the master did not want to meet Mathur, since he knew he would request him to stay at the temple. Mathur sent repeated requests, and all were ignored by the master. Ultimately, Mathur appealed to Ramkumar, and on his elder's order, the obedient younger brother, accompanied by Hride, who was like the shadow behind the tree, came to see Mathur. Seeing the master, Mathur rose from his seat and then, taking him aside respectfully, requested him to assume the duties of priest. The master opposed, saying that the process of worship of a deity was indeed a veritable source of trouble, because one had to be always responsible for the costly ornaments and the other articles of worship. However, he said that if Hride agreed to stay on to help him, then he would agree to accept the proposal, however difficult the task may be. Mathur, overjoyed, immediately agreed to appoint Hride. One day, Rani was loitering leisurely inside the temple garden when, on an auspicious moment, she was startled to come across a figure of a Brahmin boy, whose face emanated a divine glow. He was of handsome features, had slightly slanting eyes with soft looks, a wide chest and sharp nose, a graceful gait, and hands reaching to the thighs. In the Rani's mind, everything that she witnessed evoked reverence. Nay, not just only reverence, but a little affection too. The more she looked at him, the more she was moved. In this strange play of devotion, which the Lord plays with the devotees, all communication comes from the heart. When devotion is born in the heart of a devotee, it is no longer his or her property. It is the master's own possession. It is only the divine that can implant devotion. It is the way that the divine reveals itself and then attracts like a magnet that attracts the iron. The master is an expert stealer of the minds of the devotees. And that also is from Shiva. Okay, so this is now Sri Ramakrishna is talking about the experience. There's a story that you can read in the Ramakrishna's disciples and in the gospel of when Sri Ramakrishna had the awakening of the Kundalini. He saw an image of a young boy resembling himself that actually entered his spine from the base of the spine, and with his tongue touched each of the lotuses of the chakras, and then he saw them going from a drooping, unawakened state to an open and awakened state, each one. And it describes how each one was awakened. And then when it got to the top of the head, he had the ultimate awakening. And he said, I've been that way from that day to this. So you can read that yourself. But this is interesting. I thought I would read this one instead because he's describing what we experience. And we were talking about this in our meditation. And so this is really wonderful. And this is Sri Ramakrishna speaking. The Vedanta speaks of 7 planes. The experiences in these planes differ from one another. The mind normally moves up and down in the 3 lowest planes. Its attention is fixed on the anus, the organ of generation, and the navel, to eating, dressing, coition, and the like. If, however, it happens to transcend those 3 planes and reaches the heart, one has the vision of light. But although the mind rises sometimes to the heart, it comes down to the 3 lower planes again. If anyone's mind goes up to the throat, he cannot speak on any mundane topics. He will speak only of God. In those days, I felt as if I was struck in the head with a stick when anyone spoke of worldly matters. I would fly to the Panchvati, where I would not have to hear the talk on those topics. I would feel frightened and would hide myself when I saw worldly people. Relatives appeared to me to be enemies, trying to push me down into deep pits. If I once fell, I might not get up again. I felt suffocated. It seemed that I was at the point of death. I could have peace only when I fled from them. The mind might come down again to the anus, the regenerating organ, and the navel, even though it has reached the throat. One should even then be alert. If, however, anybody's mind reaches the spot between the eyebrows, he has no more fear of a fall. He then has the direct knowledge of the Supreme Self and remains continually in samadhi. There is only a screen, transparent like glass, separating this center from the 1,000-petaled lotus in the brain, the Shashara. The Supreme Self is so near them that it seems as if one is merged in him, identified with him, but the identification is yet to be. If the mind comes down from there, it comes at most down to the throat or the heart. It cannot come down lower. The Javakotis never come down from this plane. After this experience of continuous samadhi for 21 days, the screen is pierced and the oneness of the self with him becomes complete. To be completely merged in the Supreme Self, in the Shashara, is what is called reaching the seventh plane. And this is Sri Ramakrishna. That's Swami Sardananda's Sri Ramakrishna's great master, just so you know where that came from. So, I thought it would be...
Excuse me.
Yes.
May I ask you, whatever you just read, it's quote from a book?
It's from
Yeah,
Sardananda, Swami Sardananda's Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master. That's his biography of Sri Ramakrishna that he wrote. And we have copies of it here. You can get it. It's a standard book from Sri
That's the
Ramakrishna.
same
The book
thing,
that we have, right?
Divan play Ramakrishna, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we have that Divan
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I read that, I didn't read that part, I don't know what it is.
You know, there's so many things in there. That's why I like to repeat them, because there's so much that just is so powerful. But if you're not really understanding what it's saying, it kind of got, like I read a book when I was 17 and it went so far over my head I couldn't understand any of it. And then years later, I've been reading it ever since. And slowly, you know, it's like, I didn't know that was in there. You know? So this is interesting. Now this is Ramakrishna and his disciples. This is one of the reasons why I think it would be good for us to form a class where we could read this every week and go through it together, because there's a lot of backstories and things that we could discuss in addition. And Christopher Isherwood, the writer, of course, was a disciple of Swami Prabhupanandaji's. And so he's also an excellent writer, and he's a Western writer, so it's a little clearer for Westerners, in English especially. So this takes place, Totapuri came to the Chiniswar, and the story, I'll make it real quick. He came off the Ghat, landing Ghat, and came onto from the Ganga, arrived to Dakshineswar. Maybe you guys have been there. And there was just a group of people kind of sitting there. And Sri Ramakrishna was there, but in a white cloth, sitting off to the corner, not looking any conspicuously at all. And Totapuri immediately noticed him, and he said, "You are qualified to be able to learn about it, non-dualism, Advaita Vedanta." He said, "You're qualified." And Sri Ramakrishna kind of nonplussed looked at him, and he said, "I have to ask my mother first." And so he thought he was going to go ask his mother, his physical mother. And of course, Sri Ramakrishna ran into the temple itself and asked Kali Ma if this was okay. And she said, "That's why the priest is here. He's here to teach you about non-dual Brahman." So he came back and he said that, of course, he was reeling drunk, and Totapuri was kind of amused because Totapuri was a true non-dualist, and he didn't really believe in any, like Kali and all these things were not part of his lexicon. He didn't see the value of it. He was beyond into the non-dual Brahman. So he said, "Okay, my mother says it's all right." So they went and, the story is that they went to a little hut that's still on the property there. It's a wonderful place to go and meditate. And they shut the door, and Totapuri gave him the instruction on the non-dual Brahman, how to meditate on the non-dual Brahman. And Sri Ramakrishna could go beyond. He said, "I could go beyond my body, my mind, my emotions. All that was no problem. The physical world was no problem. But at one point, I would just see Kali, the essence of consciousness and bliss, and I couldn't go beyond that. And I would see her living form, and I couldn't go beyond to the non-dualism." And he tried repeatedly. And he finally said, "It can't be done. It can't be done. I can't go beyond Kali Ma to the unlimited." And of course, Totapuri was a mountain, a lion of a man, he was a naked sadhu, Naga sadhu. And he said, "It must be done." And of course, these people have indomitable will. I can imagine him. I couldn't even imagine at any rate. So he said, "It must be done. It must be done." And he looked around, and there was a piece of glass near the fire. And he grabbed this shard of glass, and he said, "I want you to focus and concentrate here." And he pushed the glass into his point between the eyebrows. Of course, that was not comfortable. He said, focus here. And so Sri Ramakrishna kind of gave the description, of course, that he saw Makali his last time, but he used his knowledge of non-dualism as a sword and cleaved her in two. And then he said, once he went beyond Ma, then there was nothing to hold his mind to the relative world, and he went directly in samadhi. But this is interesting because there's different forms of samadhi, and usually beginners, they have a taste of samadhi and then they come back. So he sat there, he was in samadhi, Todapuri was sitting there, and he sat there, and he finally saw that he wasn't coming out of samadhi. It was, and then he left actually, he came back, and it was some days before Sri Ramakrishna came back to outer consciousness, and he realized it was Nirvikapa samadhi. And he was just amazed that somebody who was a dualistic worshipping person could have the highest experience of non-dualism right away. And so that was and then it was funny because Todapuri was a wandering Nagasadhu, and they're not supposed to stay more than 3 days in a place. Turned out he stayed 11 months. And he really loved to just be around Sri Ramakrishna. And it says this in the book. In this book, we'll read it. And he tried to leave many times, it says, and he just couldn't tear himself away from Sri Ramakrishna. Finally, he got sick. He became with dysentery, really bad dysentery. And of course, he had realized Brahma. He was not Brahma Dhyana. And he just thought, it got really bad one night when nobody was around. He used to stay in the Pachati outside. He never went indoors. Never could with all these things. It was just his disciplines. And he thought, okay, this body is such a nuisance. I've already realized Brahman. I'm just going to consign it to the Ganga. So it says he fixed his mind deep on Brahman, and he just waded into the Ganga right outside the ghat there. The Ganga's right there. And so he waited, and he just walked and walked and walked and walked in the middle of the Ganga. Then he started seeing the lights of the other side. The Gangas are quite wide. It's not a small river. And he got almost to the other side, and he realized it was night. And said, okay, and then he had a flash of illumination right there in the Ganga. That he said, in this world, Mother Kali is supreme. Even if I wanted to get rid of this body, if she doesn't will that it should go, it cannot go. And so he had this rush of devotion for Ma Kali, for the relative Brahman. And so he found his way back to the other shore. And in the morning, of course, Sri Ramakrishna found him beaming and glowing with joy, and all of his sickness had left him. And then they went together into the Kali temple, and he prostrated himself to Ma Kali for the first time. And then 3 days later, he left. So then this takes place right after that. And this I thought I would read because it gives us a real glimpse of the real dynamics. Remember what Sri Ramakrishna talked about, where you go into samadhi and the body drops off, and the normal person is one. So this is a little something. After Todapuri, we have plenty of time. After Todapuri had left Dakshineswar, Ramakrishna decided to remain for at least 6 months in Nirvikapa Samadhi, 21 days. For 6 months, he used to say on later, I was in that state from which ordinary mortals never return. Ordinarily, the body can live for 21 days only in that state. Then it falls off like a dry leaf from a tree. There's no consciousness of time, the coming of day, or the passing of night. Just as flies enter the nostrils and mouth of a dead man, so they entered my mouth. But a holy man came there. He had a small stick like a ruler in his hand. He recognized my state as soon as he saw it. Therefore, he would bring food from time to time. He struck my body with the stick again and again, trying to bring it back to consciousness. The moment he saw signs that I was getting conscious, he thrust some food into my mouth. Some days a little food found its way into the stomach. Other days it did not. This period of Nirvikapa Samadhi came to an end with the vision of the mother, who told Ramakrishna that henceforward he must remain in the state called Baba Mukta, because he had a mission to perform for the good of the world, and must therefore not withdraw from it into Nirvikapa. Baba Mukta is defined as a state in which one is aware of the outer world and its phenomena, not in the usual way, but as waves within the cosmic mind. One is aware not of the personal ego, but of oneself as the cosmic ego, which is the source of all creation. These are matters of profound and subtle spiritual experience, quite beyond the grasp of ordinary excuse me,
Blessing.
imagination. The allergies too. Imagination. So perhaps it is better to oversimplify a little and to say that Ramakrishna had throughout the rest of his life the faculty of being simultaneously aware of God and the physical universe. So he was commanded by Divine Mother, and this is after the attainment of Brahmajnana. So, and these are only the very special beings that even come back from that state, as it says. And so, for him to be commanded to stay in that state of Bhavamukta, which is the state between the relative and the ultimate non-dual worlds, the boundary, and be kind of a gate, is extraordinary. And then after that, coming down into this world, how he acted was really, really interesting. Because, and it's, I'll read something a bit about this. He had the most liberal of outlooks. He came and he didn't focus on one message to bring to the world and said, this is my message to you, like the other prophets had done. Non-dualism or qualified non-dualism or some kind of, bhakti or moral teachings or whatever. But he really embraced all of the teachings, all of the paths. And I think it really is so important because in our world, it's become a small world and all the cultures aren't really divided anymore. They're mixed together and with each other. So there's not one continent has this and one continent has that. It's kind of now becoming all one blend. And so these old quaint ideas that my religion or your religion are different and we have to battle to see who's right or wrong, or even just holding the concept and I'll put up with you, but I know you're really going to hell. Or that kind of, just those thoughts themselves are very dangerous because they're really hurtful. And it really is a mean, aggressive thought pattern to other people. When you look at them and think that they're going to hell, or even, as a Hindu might look at somebody, an Orthodox Hindu, not you guys, but an Orthodox Hindu might look at a Westerner and really say, oh, these are lower evolved, maybe in many hundreds of lifetimes, they'll come up to our level or something like that. There's so many ways of doing it. And of course, in Islam now, there's so much, unless you're with us or against us, all these things. And so Sri Ramakrishna, let me finish the thought and then you can. Sri Ramakrishna coming at this time, being able to give the blueprint and the path of being able to not only put up and tolerate each religion, but integrate and see the beauty of each religion and know that there is a special different part of the puzzle into each religion and each one has a special strength, I think. And if you really can embrace it for what it is, you can gain that secret. Islam has a certain secret, Judaism has a certain secret, Christianity and so on. Each one of these has some kind of focus that is kind of specially done there and most nicely done there. And I think that if you can really absorb the essence of each one, I think it makes you all around fully balanced in that way. So I just think that we're just beginning to see the importance of what Sri Ramakrishna brought. And that's why I love even our altar is reflecting it. They allowed me, of course I've been a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna since I was young, but also I've been a devotee of Paramahansa Yoganandaji and Mahavatar Babaji, and recently Ramana Maharshi became hugely important in my life. They allowed me 100% to bring murtis from those sacred places and put them on our altar. No other place would allow that, I guarantee you. Very few, maybe Baha'i or something like that, but no other place that I've found, as wonderful as some of those beautiful paths are, they're not that kind of embracing that this because of what Sri Ramakrishna stands for. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, it is not that the method, the way eventually reach that plateau, but like we say, the strength, everybody understand, but it is the prophecies, it is the writings of the son of prophet like Muhammad. He is the one, any other religion, to him, that's why he proposes infidelity, in other words. That's why they have the violence, look what Iran is talking about. They don't want the existence of Israel. How could there any religion could say that? You know what I mean? Their method and this method different. But they are people, in other words. Hey, same thing like them. But you cannot tell them, I'm not letting,
And a lot of times,
This is the thing actually
Yeah.
causes the problem in the whole world.
I understand what you're saying. You know, in a lot of the books that come to us, there's these, even the Gospels have these partisan, hard, fast situations. I suspect that they came in later on after the prophet or the holy beings left us, and their followers came up along, and they kind of, all religions really stay pure for maximum 200 years. All religions, yeah. They say all religions after 200 years, you can't even recognize it. So we don't even know what Muhammad actually taught, because apparently he had, and Swami Vivekananda had a vision of Muhammad, and so did Sri Ramakrishna. So, and there's a Sufi strain of Islam that's very beautiful. That's very beautiful. Judaism has Kabbalah, and some of these beautiful, and of course I have great Jewish friends that are Orthodox that they don't have any trouble with me at all. I mean, you guys have adopted me. I went to this body, as it's sitting now, went to the temple and gave a talk on yoga at the special festival they had of 400 people at the library for the Jain and Hindu temple. They accepted this body to do that. That's pretty outstanding and amazing to me that I laughed. Even when I was on stage, I laughed. I said, "But you didn't expect somebody like me to come up here and talk about yoga." I'm doing this interfaith thing. I'll send out. I just got the email today. In November, I'll be a speaker at the Interfaith Council, and I'm the speaker on Hinduism. And they have all the other speakers. They have an imam from this one, that one. So it's kind of absurd in a sense, but just the fact that what this is stating was Ramakrishna's beautiful, beautiful message, and then they back it up with actual acceptance of somebody like me, or the other swamis who are Western swamis who've given their whole lives to Sri Ramakrishna. I just bow to them, and they've had a hard time of it because it's not normal for the Western people to see somebody go in and become a swami of an order. But it's just really so necessary, and I think if we have a chance of survival, then this is kind of it. So I agree with you.
That is how it worked out. When Thakur said in his Divan Play, the last chapter, the 400 some page, he says that he's talking about Radharani, Goddess Radharani, and saying that actually Swamiji will go there, these things are people will follow. He had a picture of the peacock, all these people following Swamiji, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
This is all his play, he did all these things. So that because of that, only because of Swamiji was in Chicago, and his speech, like he said, when he get up on the stage, he actually prayed to Master Saraswati, and then everything came out. So that's what caused all these Western people, all these people, we are listening to, I think one of listening to one of Swamiji in our California Vedanta Center, when Swamiji went to Los Angeles. Way back then, the people who listened, some of the ladies who listened to him, they invited him to go. He invited one by prayer, all these things,
That's right. They accepted him.
This is all, I think, providence, and divine, in other words. Now, in those days, say 1893, those days, how people, today, see how people, how background, how backward they are. With Donald Trump's speech, everybody, as they wake up in the dark age, you know what I mean? And those time people were, how could they buy it? They accepted him and gave him all the opportunity. Even Rockefeller, all these people.
Of course, he was, I know that he had divine power emanating from him where people would accept that power. Like they gave him a standing ovation with Sisters and Brothers of America alone. That's not normal. That's not the words he's saying. It's the power of who he was. Did you have something that you wanted to ask or say? I thought you had your hand. No. Okay, so let's continue on, and we'll make sure that everybody can hear. So this is also writing about Sri Ramakrishna. So many times in his life, the master saw evidence that the Divine Mother had made him an instrument of her grace by storing spiritual power abundantly in him, and sometimes using it on the behalf of Matur or some other special persons. Before he experienced this himself, he understood that the Divine Mother would use his body and mind as instruments to bestow her grace on a few fortunate people. But he did not know how and when she would do it. Like a child, the Master depended completely on the Mother, so he did not try to understand this. After the pilgrimage, the Master began to feel deeply, and this is the pilgrimage he did with Mathur. They went to Vrindavan and all these other places. Deeply, that the Divine Mother had started a new lila, divine play, and was working through his body and mind. But although he had that feeling, he had no idea what the Divine Mother would have him do, how she would direct him, and where she would ultimately take him. He truly became the Divine Mother's child forever, and he knew only this: the Mother is mine, and I am Mother's. No desire other than the Mother's arose in his mind. Sometimes, however, one desire would rise in his mind, to know the Mother in various forms and by means of different spiritual paths. The Mother had made him understand clearly that it was she who had put that desire into his mind on many occasions. After he had visited holy places, the Master became aware of his spiritual mission in the world. But he did not assume the position of a teacher to feed his ego as we do. This is clear from his intention to spend the rest of his life in Vrindavan with the great devotional ascetic Gangamata. But the Mother's will prevailed. Mother does her own work. Who am I to work in the world and teach all of humanity? We cannot even imagine how deeply this attitude was rooted in the Master's mind throughout his life. The Master's self-abnegation made him a true instrument for Mother's work, and it kept him in the state of Bhavamukta without interruption, caused the power of the Guru to become manifest in him, and developed his power in his mind so intensely that he became a wonderful teacher. In her inscrutable lila, the Divine Mother gave the Master wonderful and unprecedented spiritual experiences throughout his life. She also infused into him universal and liberal religious ideas that she had never inspired in any other great teacher of the world. The Divine Mother made the Master understand this, and simultaneously revealed to him the amount of spiritual power that she had instilled in him, and in fact that she had made him a wonderful instrument to transmit this power to others. The Master was amazed when he realized the dearth of spirituality in the world, and how the Mother's grace had given him a stockpile of extraordinary power to be used in removing that want. The people of the world again would be blessed by bearing witness to the Mother's overflowing compassion, and would lack the words necessary to glorify her infinite divine qualities and give her sovereignty over millions of universes. As excessive heat generates clouds, as waxing is followed by waning, and as prosperity arises after adversity, so when innumerable people feel a long accumulated spiritual emptiness, the infinite compassion of the Divine Mother takes form and appears as a living and moving manifestation of power of the Guru. Out of grace, the Divine Mother made the Master understand this, and she showed him that she had enacted her lila through him many times in previous ages, and would continue to do so many times in the future. The Master could not enjoy liberation like ordinary human beings. It is clear from this time on, the Master experienced this. Wherever there is any trouble in the Divine Mother's empire, I shall have to rush there to stop it like a government officer. And that's also from Swami Sardananda's Sri Ramakrishna and his Divine Play. And this gives us a little bit of a glimpse when, even after Sri Ramakrishna was, had the ultimate experience and came down and it was in Baba Mukta, to live in this world, of course, for a being like that is probably beyond our comprehension, not so easy, and easy at the same time, I suspect. But once in the year of 1883, Sri Vaikunthanath Sanyal, a friend of ours, came to Dakshineswar and saw the Master extremely anxious because Narendranath had not come for a long time. Sanyal said the Master's mind was filled to the brim by Narendra, as it were. He spoke of nothing but Narendra's good qualities. Narendra, he said, addressing me, is a man of pure sattva. He is one of the four of the abode of the invisible and one of the 7 rishis. There is no limit to his good qualities. Saying so, the Master became much worried and was shedding incessant tears like a mother separated from her child. Seeing him unable to control himself, we were rather puzzled about the significance of all this behavior. Just then, he went with rapid steps to the veranda, to the north of his room. After weeping bitterly for some time, he sobbed out with a choked voice, "Ah, I cannot do without seeing him." Controlling himself a little, he now came to the room and sat down beside us, saying pathetically, "I wept so much, but Narendra did not come. The longing to see him had produced a terrible anguish, as if my heart were being wrung. But he still does not realize all this but he does not at all realize the intensity of the attraction I feel for him." Saying so, he became worried again and went out of the room. Returning a little later, he said, "What will they think of on seeing that I, a man of such advanced years," let's see here, feels so much pain on account of his absence, and still he does not come. Shortly after this event, one day he introduced me to Narendra. I saw that the master was delighted when united with Narendra, as he was worried when separated from him. We went later to Dakshineswara on the master's birthday. The devotees that day adorned him beautifully, dressed him up in new attire, and adorned him with the flower garland, sandal paste, etc. Kirtan was being sung in the new veranda on the east of his room near the garden. Surrounded by devotees, the master listened to the kirtan, now entering into ecstasy, now making the kirtan interesting by improvising extempore a line or two. But he could not enjoy the bliss fully on account of the absence of Narendra. He looked around from time to time and said to us, "Narendra, I see, has not come." At about noon, Narendra came and bowed down at his feet in the assembly of devotees. As soon as the master saw him, he jumped up, sat on his shoulders, and went into ecstasy. Afterwards, coming down to the normal state, he engaged himself in conversing with and feeding him. He listened to the kirtan no more that day. So, these kind of quirks of a divine being, still even exist in all of the great ones. If you look at the lives of any of these great saints, but Narendra was really part of Sri Ramakrishna. And of course, I suspect, still when Sri Ramakrishna was describing when he was in the throat center, hearing the talk of worldly people actually gave him physical pain. I suspect that at a level was still true because he was forced to stay in Bhavamukta. And so Narendra was a source of relief that here was a being that could truly understand him, truly feel at ease with, so to speak. And so we can't even imagine what that would be like. And there's little things, there's only 2 pages here, that's 2 more. One day Mathur Babu was returning to John Bazaar in his deluxe Pantheon, a light 4-wheel carriage, bringing Sri Ramakrishna with him. When the carriage reached Chittapur road, the master had a wonderful vision. He felt that he had become Sita and that Ravana was kidnapping him. Seized by this idea, he emerged into Samadhi. Just then, the horses tore loose from their reins and stumbled and fell. Mathur Babu could not understand the reason for such a mishap. When Sri Ramakrishna returned to normal consciousness, Mathur told him about the accident with the horses. Sri Ramakrishna then said that while in ecstasy, he perceived that Ravana was kidnapping him. That Jatayu, the great bird who had attempted to rescue Sita, was attacking Ravana's chariot and trying to destroy it. After hearing this story, Mathur Babu said, "Father, how difficult it is even to go into the street with you." And this is the final thing, so we can, and this is kind of says it all. Once, and this is at the end, once when the master was lying ill at Kasapur, a few devotees brought some offerings for Mother Kali at the Dakshineswara temple. On hearing that the master was at Kasapur, they offered everything that they had brought before the picture of the master, and then partook of the prasad. Then when the master heard of this, he remarked, "All these things were brought for the great mother of the universe, and they have offered them to here," meaning to himself. I was frightened very much at the thought of this. He who is suffering from this dangerous disease, who knows what might happen? What a calamity. What did they do? And of course, you guys know it's sacrilegious to offer to a man gifts that are meant for a deity, and hence that fear that it may cause some misfortune. The master too referred to this incident again and again. Afterwards, at a late hour in the night, he said to me, and this was on his deathbed, you will see how in the course of time, I will be worshipped in every house. You will see everyone accepting this, meaning himself. This is surely going to happen. That was the only day I heard him using the first person with reference. Usually he would speak of himself not as I, but of me, or me, but as this case or belonging to this or to this body. So that is the final little kind of hint. So, yeah, I think when we talk about Sri Ramakrishna's unlimited nature, it's truly a unique story to be able to dive into so many directions. If you listen to Sri Ramana's teachings, they're amazing on non-dualism, but they basically focus on non-dualism. And if you are ready for that, then that's maybe the perfect thing. And if you listen to Ramanuja or Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya, if you really love the deity and you want to come close to the deity, their teaching is for that one specific purpose. But Sri Ramakrishna literally has something for everyone, and there's a refuge that everyone can take in Sri Ramakrishna. I think we make a little bit, and I've heard some senior swamis saying this in Chicago when we were all there. So we make a big mistake if we try to make the order of the Ramakrishna centers more like an Indian cultural club. He said, this is not what it should be. He said, to understand the deeper significance of Sri Ramakrishna, it shouldn't be just all the beautiful things that are there for pujas and all these things, but really diving deep. And I think Swami Sarvapriyanandaji is doing a wonderful job with, kind of opening up that aspect of non-dualism, and so many other of the Swamis are really doing a great service, and crossing over from the Indian culture to the Western culture with the centers and with the Swamis and so on. I think is really, really important. And I think that's why it's so wonderful to see what's going on. And so who knows, there's always, if they can use somebody like me, they can use anybody. So we'll have Swami Rupeshanandaji come in November. I hope that you guys support. I know a lot of people will come this weekend to see Swami Satchimayanandaji, an Indian Swami. I hope that an equal number come when Swami Rupeshanandaji comes, because he's lived his whole life as a devotee of, his parents were initiated, and so his whole life he's been a devotee. So he's an amazing, amazing, amazing person. So
last time he was here, you all came here.
Yeah.
I remember how he was talking about it.
Yeah, you were here. Yeah.
What is the name again?
Arupeshananda. Swami Arupeshananda.
Mm-hmm. His mother is kind of handicapped, and that's why they break down.
They'll be coming again.
That, yeah.
Okay, so let us do Ramakrishna Sharanam, and then what we'll do is we'll do our meditation. So remember the meditation. We start with pranayama, and actually, I should have brought it, and I did not. Anandamoy Ma talked in detail about using the breath in your meditation, using the breath with repeating the mantra or the holy name. So when we're using this, the idea of watching the breath go in and out and chanting Soham is very, very widely accepted as a theory. And Kashmiri Shaivism, of course, is where that comes. But there's also Yoganandaji teaches yoga that includes something like that. And it's very powerful. It allows you. The problem that we have is that our mind is not focused and concentrated. And we're so stuck on the body or emotions or minds, and we get caught up into it. So especially if we've been doing a mantra for a very long time, or any technique for a long time, we can find that our mind can start to wander, and we start to lose focus on that. And you might not feel as deep as you did when you began that practice years ago. So, using something like this to be able to truly go back and focus the mind, I think it's been really, really helpful. And a lot of people have said that with this technique. So remember what we're talking about. We're going to do a couple of deep breaths. So we'll chant first, and then we'll do a couple of deep breaths in through the nose, holding it for a count of 8 or 10, whatever's comfortable, holding it for the equal length of time, then exhaling through the mouth. And this is so important to regulate the energy in the body, releasing all the tension in the body, removing our focus on the body. So in through, and then at the same time tense the body when you're inhaling. So and when you exhale, release all that tension. We'll just do that 3 times. Once the breath is out, just let it stay out. Just be the observer of the breath. It's a wonderful way to become the observer consciousness. And by itself, when the body decides to breathe itself, it's kind of take the attitude that you're watching somebody else breathe. That's the best way to kind of do this. And when your body breathes, you jet soul on the inhaling breath. If it pauses, don't do anything. Just enjoy the peace. If it pauses for a long period of time, really enjoy the peace. Then when it exhales by itself, hum. So hum, I am he, so hum. But this vibration of those sacred words too have a lot to do with controlling prana in the body. And you stabilize the mind, the chitta, in the mind, the feeling, chitta, mind, manas. And when that gets stabilized, then you go into what they call pratyahara. And you'll feel that the body is kind of numb. You don't feel the body. You don't hear anything. You don't see anything. You don't taste, or all those things are kind of blocked out, and you find that you have complete focus. When you have pratyahara, then you can do whatever technique you practice with real results. So if you have a mantra and you're initiated, use that mantra at that point when you're interiorized and your mind isn't going anywhere, and you'll have this deep, deep experience connection with it. If you have another technique of meditation, then use that at that time. But I find this is so, so helpful. So we'll do Ramakrishna Sharanam.
Yeah.
Then
The 2 questions that I had, and first one is that he said when he started Thakur's life, actually his father, he went to Goa, and that's where he has the vision. Lord Vishnu came. He is not Lord Shiva.
okay.
Yeah. Other
Thanks for
thing
correcting
is
me.
that we sing, right? That Sharadama, then Kali, then Durga, then Lakshmi, and Saraswati. This order, is it or it can be, why Kali is after Ma Sharada? Why not Durga? Why not Lakshmi? Why not
You can do it
Saraswati?
any way you want to, but we don't have a lot of time for those types of things right now. We can talk about it afterwards because we're almost
Okay,
done the
all right.
class.
Okay.
But as far as the order, we use the order depending on what we're talking about Sri Ramakrishna. So we use my Sharda first. Usually you use my Kali first, if you notice. And then we use the way that it's generally done in the scriptures. But
Okay.
you know, there's nothing, again, this is really
No,
important.
that's the
You've got to be
answer.
careful not to be
That's
so connected to one specific way of doing things that it becomes real a problem. You can do whatever's closest to your heart. And I think if you use any name of Ma in your own way, it's going to be great. And it'll be, perfect. Again, it's just purity of heart and pure devotion.
Yeah, that's
All the rest
because Ma Sharada, then Thakur was worshiping Ma Kali. Then specifically those 2, then Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati.
Yeah, so
Yes.
you can do it any way you want to, but we just have to follow a certain protocol. And so we
Okay, all right. Thank you.
but so let's do Ramakrishna Sharanam. Then we'll just do our breathing. After we're done with the chant, we'll do our breathing, and then do Soham for a while, and that'll be that. Okay, and then we can answer more questions. through the double inhale through the nose, hold it, and then exhale double through the mouth. So let's start with count of 8. Tensing the whole body. Hold. Exhale. Releasing all the tension. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Tensing. Hold. Exhale, releasing all the tension. One more time. Inhale. Tensing. Hold. Exhale. Now let the breath stay out. When it comes in of its own, just be aware of the breath. Don't control it. Chant mentally. So, incoming breath. And exhaling. If the breath doesn't flow, just feel the release. pretty still in here.
I'm sorry for asking all these questions.
No, it's okay. Questions are okay. The questions are no problem whatsoever. We definitely want to keep, of course, we got to keep the costs down to a certain